Hello, everybody. Wanted to show you a website building tool that I've created called NostalgiaPHP. Uh, this is what I consider to be the easiest and fastest way to build websites that are generally content heavy, where you might sprinkle in some JavaScript for the DOM or possibly add in some microservices for maybe authentication or contact forms, whatever you need to do. I call it a Caveman-Simple file-based CMS. So the motivation for doing this is that I think we've all realized that building websites, especially simple content-based websites, has just become stupid. There's no better way to say that. Uh, Build tools and the time it takes to set things up is just crazy. Um, Meanwhile, HTML and CSS and JavaScript are better than they've ever been. There's so many things you can do with it. The web transitions API and CSS. Um, we could go on and on. Uh, and you just don't need more. But when you do need more, we tend to fight with our frameworks to be able to add stuff, or we have to go down the path of using the tools that are recommended by the framework that we're using. In my daily day-to-day life, I tend to use Svelte and SvelteKit, and I'm very happy with it. However, there's more to it than you need a lot of the time, and you find yourself fighting where you want simplicity. So that's where Nostalgia PHP comes in. Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. No pun intended. Uh, PHP is fine. Stop pretending it isn't. It happens to be a very nice templating language, in my opinion. Um, and the rest of this you don't really have to mess with. The rest of the PHP implementation. Anyway, that said, let's just go through and install it. So I recommend you go to Nostalgia PHP on GitHub and just download the code. You can clone it if you want to. I'm just going to download the zip and then open it. And then I'm going to go into VS Code and open the file or the project rather. And then I'm going to do PHP dash capital S localhost. I'll do 8,000. And if we open that up, there's your website. So that's the installation started and completed. Um, this is just a simple home page. And as simple as this is, the other ones are even simpler. This is not to show you how to design a site, it's to show you how to make one. Um, I'll just go through. I've got a couple pages with heroes. This one has a sidebar. I've got a blog with some cards and the individual blog page. Um, I also have a second collection. So we have pages and collections. The blog is a collection, home and about are pages. Uh, did I click on one? Let's see. Yeah, here's a page. Here's docs. Very similar. Um, this is a reactivity system. This is not part of this project, but it is super simple to include in the project. And this gives you the reactivity that you may want. Looks like I got some styling stuff here, but that's okay. Um, the counter clicky uppy downy thing. But again, this is not part of Nostalgia PHP. I've got another little client side app to-do list thing. There is an admin page, which you might find helpful. Um, and I'll show you where this data comes from. And of course, there's a little sitemap ready to go. Um, so that's what this looks like. So let's take a look at the project here. The only thing that's included is the parsedown.php script, which is a third-party script, because everything in this system is based on Markdown first. There's an index.php file, which is 34 lines long so far. And this is just a router. And this routes requests to a routes folder, which has a 404, sitemap, robots, but also the route for pages, static pages, or collections, which are groups of pages like blog or docs or whatever. And of course, you don't have to touch these files. The functions.php is the engine room. This is what does all the work. Like the helper functions like site, path. If you were in WordPress, this would be like your what do you call those template tags and things like that. And then there's a Docker file for deployment. I'm using render.com, but you can deploy this on anything. It works with 7.4 and greater. 8 is recommended. There's a simple config file, and you can change the name of your site here. Set your time zone. There's a base URL in case you wanted to deploy this website inside a subdirectory of another website, just to get it up and going. A simple htaccess file, which is not used in render.com, which is what I'm deploying it on. But I actually deployed it on a friend's VPS, so we needed to use this. Otherwise, you have templates, and the main.php template is the default template, if not otherwise specified. And it's very simple. It includes the head, the header. There's some conditional logic here to decide if there's a hero image to render or not. The content goes here, and the footer goes here. So if you're going to make another template, I recommend just starting with this one, copy and paste, put it in your templates folder, give it a new name, and then, edit it to your liking. The static folder is for any static files. This is where I decided to put the favicon. Uploads is where I could just put any images or PDFs or whatever I need. JavaScript is for uh, just random JavaScript files. These are for like little components uh, because you cannot write JavaScript in a Markdown file. It tries to wrap it in like paragraph tags and things like that when the parse down file parses it. But you can include it via script tag, which is what I'm doing. So you can put your uh, JavaScript in there or really anywhere you want. And then I have a simple style sheet. Um, this style sheet is not meant to be like the style sheet. It's just a style sheet. So you make your own, do whatever you want with it. However, the reset in here is pretty good. So you might want to start with it. It comes from another uh, style sheet thing that I have called Cheeky CSS, which is basically like Tailwind, um, but not as advanced. However, it doesn't require any setup. There's no build tools, obviously, but it's a utility CSS framework. Uh, you also have your partials, which are, like little components, little includes, chunks of PHP template that you want to use. The variables used in these partials come from the routes, um, or I'm sorry, comes from the templates here. So these partials are just basically extensions of these templates. And you can make your own. These are just here for examples. Have we looked at everything? Yeah. And then the last thing is where you're going to be most of the time, and this is your content. You either have your static pages or your collections like blog and docs. Um, so let's go look at the homepage. Now, first of all, the routing is like Astro or Next.js or SvelteKit or something. It's directory based. So this is the homepage, the index.md file that is directly nested inside the pages directory. And then each of these directories, about, admin, and contact, represent an about page, an admin page, contact page. If you want the website slash about slash and then another nested page, you just put a folder, and whatever you name the folder is going to be the file name or the URL name, the slug name. Um, and of course, the file that's directly inside the folder here is going to be, um, the content. So this content here represents this here. Where we write in Markdown first. However, you can write HTML in Markdown with a few stipulations. You cannot nest Markdown inside HTML, but you can mix and match them side by side. Uh, if you want a layout, if I don't provide the layout, you're just going to get the default main layout. But to specify a layout, you just give it the name, whatever the name is inside your template. Uh, so if I wanted the contact layout, I got the contact layout. Let's go back to sidebar layout. And we use metadata inside these code fences at the top to specify what you would call like post meta in WordPress. The title and description. The title is used for the title tag. The description is used for the meta. So this is for your search engine optimization stuff. If you specify the hero title, subtitle, and image, it will put that here conditionally. And that's right now built into all the templates. Each template has the ability to do a full screen hero. Of course, you can edit it, but if you don't want it, you just don't use it, and then it's not there. If you want to see all of the keys that are already handled in the system, you can go to the sample index file, and here's a list of the ones you can use. You can create just arbitrary key value pairs, and then use them in your template. But if you specify keys that aren't handled, it doesn't matter. It's just ignored. So what I do is when I make a new page, I will go here and just copy this and then make the new page and paste it in, and then just delete the keys that I don't want. I just noticed I don't have the image specified here, but that is a key. For example, if we go to our collections, because if you're using WordPress, for example, you're going to get your posts, but we always install the custom post types very quickly. And it's not hard, but it could be easier. And we don't need to always bring a database into things, especially for setup. There's all these things you might need later, and you can add them when you want to, but it prevents getting going when you have all these things where you have to create a database and a database user and password and hook it up with the config file and update these things and backing them up. Restoring can be an issue. Migration can be a problem. If you've ever tried to migrate a huge database from one installation to another, you know what I'm talking about. But here we have two collections, the blog and the docs. So if I go to my blog, the name of each file is going to be the name of the route. And if I go to my hello world, you can see I specified a, in WordPress, it would be called a featured image, the image that's associated with the post. And you just give it the path of where it is. It's that simple. This is the date format, year, month, day, um, the way it should be everywhere in the world. Yeah, so if we go look at that on the front end, we've got the blog. And then, and right now I'm specifying in the template to use these cards, but you can specify the layout however you want to. Uh, where's that? HTML. Yeah, so this is the only one that has specified an image, but um, that's how the image works there in the front matter. And just to show you how easy it is to create a new collection, all you do is go into your config, close this, just grab a chunk here, duplicate it, give it a name. I'll do events, save it, and then just to make it easier to get to, we'll go to our header, and if you want to change your menu, just do it here. Just go and copy one. I'll take my docs, copy it, and do events plural, and events plural here. Refresh, and now I've got events with no items yet. Um, let's go make an item. So what you would do now, go into your content collections, create a folder called events that matches up with the list URL here. And I'll say first event dot md. Go grab this just to be lazy. And let's say first event, sample for first event. To do that, I'm going to use the default layout, so I don't even need to specify main. Main is the default. I won't use hero. Today is the 14th. That's self-explanatory, but I'm going to use the defaults. And I'm not even using the author right now, so I'll get rid of that. And I'll say first event for the page title, which is not generated from the title up here. So you do have to give it an H1. And then I'll save it, refresh. There's my event. Click on it, and there you go. So very simple to create collections of things that you want. And then however you want to customize it, this framework will not get in your way. It's just as easy as just adding stuff. I mean, any easier than this, it's just HTML. But we do need a way to modify the URLs so that they're pretty. They don't end with like .php or .html. We need a way to include things like the header and the footer. Um, and we need a way to create collections. Other than that, you're on your own, except for some niceties like a 404 page, sitemap. Oh, and the admin page is a front matter report. It essentially just looks through all the MD files and gives you the information about it. Because since it's file based, how do you know which pages are drafted or, which pages were created this month? Once you get to a certain amount of content, you need some reporting. And then you could lock this down with basic HTTP authentication or, whatever you're using to serve your website. And Yeah, I think that's about it. So, as far as deploying goes, I'm using render.com and I've included a simple Docker file. So if you choose Docker in your during your deployment, then you can deploy just about anything with Docker. Uh, but it also keeps the versions and like the environments between your local machine and your production web server the same. Um, I There's a free hobby version on Render where if your site isn't visited in 15 minutes, it spins down the server, and it can take about a minute to spin back up. But they have a $7 a month plan, and it's very simple. You just put this on GitHub and then hook your GitHub to Render. And every time you push to GitHub, it rebuilds and redeploys your site. Very simple, very serverless. And I think that's about it. I also tested this hosting on a VPS running 7.4, and it's working correctly. Oh, but I did want to say, as far as backing up, if you use GitHub, that's probably going to be fine. The fact that everything's a file means it's extremely portable. And if you outgrow this, if you have an idea in your head, I think this is the fastest way to get that idea on the on the internet. But if you need to eventually move into something where adding microservices and other framework agnostic software like contact forms and things like that, it becomes too much and you need to migrate to something. You've already got your content in Markdown, which is extremely portable. You've already going to have your style sheet, that's portable. The only thing you really need to do is convert your templates into whatever thing you're doing. So if you wanted to, well, templates and partials, if you wanted to rebuild this in as a React component, it's very straightforward. All you're basically doing is sticking your variables inside your HTML. So, you could do that by hand. You could use AI to convert it for you if you're really lazy. Um, Yeah, so that's Nostalgia PHP. I have been building this demo site with it, and it's just been a dream to use. It's so easy. It's so out of your way. It's caveman simple. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for spending your time with me. Tell a friend, and I'll see you in the next video.